hate how echoey this room is. I wish I knew that we were recording. I would have done fucking something about it. Thanks for the heads up.
I mean, I made it very clear in public multiple times.
It was in the whole thing.
Didn't say me. Tell me directly. So doesn't matter.
You're right.
I have memory of a goldfish.
Then you can't be. So I guess what we should have done is said you're welcome for the heads up.
Yeah, we did. We gave you a heads up.
Thanks, guys.
You just forgot.
No, I really feel prepared now. You know,
I mean, that's not on us.
everything that is here is your fault, and I love that.
Are you still in Europe?
Yep.
Hasn't it been like 3 weeks?
Yeah, I'm still in Europe. This is how sound is in Europe.
Well, I mean, it's further.
Yeah, the sound has to travel further. It's like coming down a hallway, you know.
Oh
Yeah.
All right.
That's why it sounds
this is
like
happening now.
Yeah, I'm still in Portugal, so that's why it's like.
It looks like it could be the U.S. behind you.
Hello, everyone. It's a Q&A. We're queuing. We're A-ing. We're queuing and A-ing. I don't know.
I just didn't know you were going to tell everyone.
Yeah, well, here we are. I've made it very
Now
clear.
everyone
personal.
knows.
Yeah. This is in celebration of the end of the campaign of the second campaign of Adventure Incorporated. We are answering the questions that were handed down to us. My favorite part about Rob's new setup is that if he looks at something inappropriate on his computer, we'll know because of the window behind him.
Yeah.
And it's glass.
When he's looking at pornos instead of paying attention.
Shut that video
We're
real
gonna
fast.
Hold on. That's really funny. Anyways, I'm not definitely looking at Anthony's face. But...
Now, Rob, this is important for you to know for your day job also.
No, it sure is. Sure is. That's a good picture.
I
You
angled
might
my
wanna
camera
invest
and
in-
this glass surface very specifically to
looking
not
at-
reflect what's on my screen.
Just looking at some stuff right now.
You may want to invest in some blinds for that door window.
Yeah, for sure.
We got
He's
questions.
in Portugal,
funny.
though, so yeah.
Yeah, I'm not in the States. This
remodel.
is just how everything is in Europe.
Reflective.
And echoey.
We got
the
questions
future.
from people in our Discord. They sent them to us.
It is.
We're going to answer them. We are also going to take questions in the chat if you have them. I mean, like, you don't have to force it because there's plenty of good questions here. But if you've got them, that's what we're here for. So,
Oh, we got a great question in chat, Anthony,
great question.
from Lost Limey. It says, who are you people?
I'm Anthony Reed. I'm the Dungeon Master of Adventure Incorporated. If you're just showing
you
up
didn't
for
say
this,
it the way you normally do.
boy, it's
didn't say it the
it's a
way-
tough thing to set up.
I'm Anthony Reed. I'm your Dungeon Master, Anthony Reed.
That's true.
That's true. Rob could have been Anthony Reed because he didn't know who we were.
Yeah, we could have done this totally different.
It's true, but we didn't.
screwed it
We
up.
got over here to my. I guess if you're watching this to my left, it's Rob, and to my right, it's Steph, and then just below me to the left, it's Mike, and just below me to the right, it's Mike. And that's all I'm going to say. I'm not going to tell you anything else. Everything else, you got to figure out on your own. Okay.
Including the answers to the questions
that's
that we're
right.
just going to read and then move on
Just
from.
queuing. Just queuing.
All right.
No, he promised we would A, too.
We did promise we would A. So let's start A'ing some cues. I'm going to throw some cues at you guys, and then you need to start A'ing them. And then I'll throw a cue at me, or we'll see where it goes, where the night goes.
He's going to throw the first one in.
I hate this bit.
Our first cue. What do you guys? So we're gonna start broad, and we'll start to hone in a little bit. What story arc for this campaign was your favorite? And we could talk just a little bit about that. For like, which story arcs really resonated with you?
So I think it's important, Anthony, that we let the listeners know that when we're recording, you don't say, okay, this is going to be episode 1 of the Twist of Fate story arc. What happens is we do the recordings, and then Anthony decides what the story arc is called after we've recorded it, and then publishes it. And so, like,
That's true. So-
sometimes
Yeah.
we don't know where the arcs kind of go. Like, we can feel it, right?
And I will say, for this campaign, things were a little bit different. We tried really hard to do 8-episode arcs.
We did?
Yes, we did.
Okay.
We did.
Yeah, some of us did.
I was just there for it.
See, I'm gonna
It
turn
wasn't
up
me
you guys.
either, Rob. But I did put a list together, and I shared it with the cast before because I wasn't sure what were arcs and what were not. But I think looking at the list and remembering what we did, my personal favorite was probably the Oracle arc because I like the mechanic structure behind these kind of like solo episodes a lot. And I liked hearing the what could have been for everyone. I thought that was really fun.
I really like
yeah,
that.
I have to agree. Oracle is because it was just more fun. Like listening back, like as
It
as
was
someone who's
more
recording
fun
it.
than playing with everyone.
No, it was more. It was more fun to listen back and
To my own
like,
voice instead of your dumb voices. Sorry.
Never can give a genuine answer to anything here. No, it was really fun to listen back to see what everyone else is doing wrong without my presence. That's what I was trying to say. Like how warped
Still a
everything
dig.
was
Still a
without
dig.
me. It was nice to like. It was a big ego boost
I love it.
for me.
Nice to know
good.
you're the carry.
Yeah, I did. No, I mean it was just fun to like hear everyone in their own world. Although close second was the alternate reality Whisperer of Lies shit because it was so fun to see evil versions of
goodness.
everyone.
Yeah.
Except for Belroth, who was just a nerd.
Evil nerd Belroth. Oh my goodness, your office work was pristine.
So
That was
fun.
so good.
Steph?
Yeah, so the alternate reality was mine as well. Mostly because Anthony made me do another thing first without any preparation. Threw me into the fire there. But I think that on the on the fly like that, having to come up with these alternate versions of ourselves, but still like having to battle that like when the knowledge seeps in. And that was the other thing about the Oracle that I really liked is like how we each played so differently, knowing where we had come from versus like where we were. So anytime we get to play multiple versions of our characters in one, I think is really, really, it's a fun acting exercise for sure.
Mike C., what about you?
Yeah, I really enjoyed that arc as well. But my pick is Ancient Secrets, where we got to go back in time through the God's Eye. That was super fun. I love lore dumps, and I felt like we got so much just world info and just origin stories, and it was so cool living that history that we somewhat knew of. Like I don't know, there were some things from the last campaign that we learned about, and then also from the more relevant demon campaign. So yeah, Ancient Secrets, super fun.
I really liked that arc because it basically said like, hey, that thing from campaign 1 that was like a fundamental underpinning of creation is total bullshit, and it always has been. And like I enjoyed that immensely. What I think is really interesting about how much you guys gravitated toward the alternate reality ones is that you can't do those in a vacuum. Right? Like we really have to earn them by creating these characters and then playing them consistently, and then creating a space where things are different. Because if you don't have that built-in space, then that's not something different. That's just like it, right? Like,
Yeah, it's all you've known.
yeah.
Yeah, and I think for me, part of the trick of picking out an individual arc for this campaign was that, like, we were in this space where campaign 1 was it felt so scattershot, right? And then all of a sudden it started to hone in, and you could feel kind of the machinations of an arc forming and then ending.
Well, yeah, we're going to go down the ley line of whatever.
Right.
Now we're going to go down the ley line of whatever else.
And then, like, in this one, it felt like one continuous story the whole way. So it didn't feel as clearly broken up along the path, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, part of that was, it was very intentional, because I knew that coming out of the scope that we had for campaign 1, you know, a 5-year campaign that really like ran the sort of end game level come together at the end, it needed to have a very different feel for campaign 2. We needed to come into it and have a much more focused path. And also with campaign 2, initially when I wrote campaign 2, it was a 4-year campaign. And it was this part 1, this was part of a storyline that was going to be concurrent with what eventually will be campaign 3. And they were going to be happening simultaneously, swapping back and forth, a little bit like what happened in campaign 1, but a little more focused. And this time, getting to separate them out and really focus on that 2-year campaign, you know, we did hit the gas in charging through beat by beat by beat. There wasn't as much exploration, but there was a little more of that sort of focused storytelling, which I think was interesting to do and fun to play around with.
Yeah, and Captain Hygiene in the chat says 104 episodes, I believe. That is correct.
Exactly 104.
Nailed it.
So we which all this sort of dovetails into a question here we might have just already answered, which says, Campaign 2 is pretty different in scope compared to the first one. It started out aiming for a 2-year run and seems to be landing close to that. As a DM working with an interactive campaign, how do you go about planning a story that fits within such a specific time frame? And were there any major changes along the way to help out to reach that? Honestly,
Anthony, I'll take that one. What you?
I wanted to know if Anthony submitted that question on behalf of himself.
I
Yeah,
did
that's a
not.
great question,
I did not. It just played into exactly what I wanted to talk about, so it's fine. So yeah, campaign 1, we shot for 5 years and we hit it right on point, which was very exciting for me. Campaign 2, we had wanted to make sure it was a little bit more compressed, a shorter
Just a
time
little
frame before we had a hard restart. And so we shot for 2 years, and a couple of months before the end, we ran into a scheduling issue, which is where the Oracle arc came from. So first of all, what happened? Well, I guess I got to make sure I get the timing of this right, because really the real issue came about when we lost a recording. So
That was after Oracle had started.
yeah, so we lost a recording, which was the end of the fight with the accuser, and the beginning of and an entire encounter with Wesley Tallow and Carapath having a conversation, a sort of a checkup about what had occurred and what the next step was. And I just had a power outage, lost the file, and had no recording. And that made things very difficult. We also did not have a backup. We were really low on options. And, we were trying to think about some ways that we could fix that. And I was nervous about trying to cover that gap and still hit our time frame. And Mike at the time was like, hey, just don't hit the time frame. Like, who cares? Nobody cares. But I cared. And then we still hit the time frame.
Mike was right.
He was right.
Yeah.
We didn't have
Mike
to
was
hit the
right.
time frame. But we did. And I think the
I'm
reality...
gonna say I'm gonna go out and say it. I would have felt cheated if we had not hit the time frame.
Yeah, thank you.
What?
I just would have felt like Anthony promised me something and didn't deliver it.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah. I get
So,
it. I would have
Thank
felt
God.
the
That's all
same
I'm
way.
saying.
Expectations
Nobody
is all I'm
understands
saying.
holding yourself to unreasonable standards that literally no one else in the world cares about but other than me. I got you.
I will say the way that I planned out a 2-year campaign this time was different than the way that I planned it out for the first campaign. For the first campaign, I sort of just...
You didn't plan out a 2-year.
well, no.
It was very different.
But I looked at it and I said, I think this is a 5-year story. And this, as we got closer, things kind of clicked into place in a really good way. With campaign 2, I sat down and I said, I want to do 8-episode arcs. I need to make sure we hit all of these checkpoints to tell the story, right? We got to kill these demons. We got to do X, Y, and Z. And I wrote out basically the base of what the arc would be for, I said, if I have 8-episode arcs and I have 104 episodes, how many arcs do I have? How much time do I have? And that was sort of why I felt rushed at one point, but it all sort of clicked into place quite well. And I do want to give another thank you to our guests who came to help us recover from our lost episode debacle.
Yeah.
So another thing I want to mention
Much
is that
appreciated.
an option could have been just like replay that fight, right? Like just re-record the episode. But nobody wanted to do that because I did in that episode have the greatest moment of the entire campaign and we just couldn't recreate it. We just wouldn't have been
Kills me.
we just wouldn't have been able to like recover that magic, and so we had to say goodbye and
It
let
was
it go.
so good. Will you sing the song now? This is not on the Q&A, but the song itself was really good too, and that's the thing that I'm saddest about losing was Ellery's song for the spell. And so I think if you sing it now and then we let the chat guess what the spell was for.
So I did do it at one point on the show, but at another time. But so we're fighting the accuser, who is a powerful, magical demon lady, right? Like power. So I sang, your villainy is beyond compare, a monster sent to cause a scare, but you will find you are no match for me. Your shape will shrink, your bones will thin, your power gone into the wind, and now you're gonna just be a lady.
Important to know, because it took me way too long to realize that we were introduced to this demon as the Gray Lady. And then she just made her just a lady. And I was like, that's a great song. And then like 5 minutes later in the recording, I just like, I forgot. I just got it. The best joke of the campaign.
Pure gold.
Woof.
Yeah. Yeah, so I just made her a lady. Just a regular old lady.
So fucking good.
It's like the best use of polymorph I've ever heard. Like, hey, I'm going to turn you into a human. It's like the opposite move, right?
And like, to be fair, it did really nothing. Like, it did work, but like then she, jumped off the roof to slam her hit points, so she turned back into the Gray Lady. Like, it just it really didn't do anything, but I was so freaking proud of it in that moment. And when Anthony said the file was lost, I was like, that's it, I quit.
Well, what I find because we did talk about re-recording, and I think it was so interesting because you guys had more of an issue re-recording the fight than you did the conversation. And for me, the conversation was the much harder thing for me to step into a situation and role play a conversation we have already had and try and capture like that feeling of, having an actual conversation and not just hitting the beats we already hit or in missing stuff. Like that felt way more awkward to me than the fight. The fight would be different immediately just because like you're rolling dice, like whatever happens happens. But yeah.
Yeah, I felt bad about doing the whole thing. Just any part of it, I didn't want to do like a revisit of anything. And
Right.
so I was so happy with the solution that you were able to figure out. Again, massive shout out to
Yeah.
Quid Pro Roll and A Swan Named Emily and Botched for lending us Jenna. It is really special that we've got these friends who have been on this journey with us and we're able to hop in and like play along. So
Yep.
Thank you.
So here's a good question. What are your thoughts about playing this season's character and how you all worked as a group compared to the many pennies the first time around?
Oh, we worked way better. This group liked each other. Whereas Asher was a dick and Genevera was upset about that.
I really like the way you frame that as like, why would someone be mad at a dick? Like,
I hope I want to be clear. She wasn't wrong. But I feel like the coming into campaign 2, we wanted to make it feel different. And I know Anthony said like I want to run the campaign different. And I think we all as a cast wanted to have the main characters feel different, and inherent in that is just a different group dynamic. And we also just like campaign 1, we were just sort of like, does this work? Does this work? And then like campaign 2, we were like, we know kind of who we as archetypally want to be, and I kind of know who archetypally they want to be, and I know how my archetype kind of fits with their archetype. So it was like a lot more. I felt coming in like I knew more what I wanted to do with the other characters from the perspective of my own character, as opposed to Asher, who was just like, I don't know, this is we're making a podcast, no one's gonna listen to this. Whoops.
I, on the other hand, went into campaign 1 with no D&D experience, but expecting several people to listen to it.
a small handful.
I big number. I was shooting for big numbers, baby. But I think it's funny because I did take it from the very opposite perspective. That for me, my only background was writing. And so I had created this character that like was a novel character. Like this is a YA fantasy character that I built. And that obviously, worked in some places and didn't in some places. And it was very like stereotypically first D&D character, right? But I was making a character for consumption. And then in season 2, I made a character that like I wanted to play because now I knew what the game was. And it's funny when Anthony says that like he wanted the effect, like he wanted this season to feel harsher or like the stakes were higher, quicker. And all I wanted to do was build a character who had eternal optimism. So I think the way that everything kind of lined up to make all of that work together was just really interesting because we were still all coming to these characters from different places, but we managed to kind of be more on the same page with what story we're telling.
And I think we've mentioned it before. We did some episode zeros where we were able to see how we played together. And even though we've known each other for decades, is that the right math? A long time. And played a 5-year campaign together, we still hadn't played our new characters. And that dynamic of planning, both being like, hey, Scarpin knew Ellery first, Belroth knew Diran, but let's also go on adventures and see how that plays out. That just set the tone for episode 1, and that was invaluable to our chemistry this season.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Today in the Many Pennies channel in the Discord, one of our newer listeners is listening through the Many Pennies story arc and asked a question very similar around like, why did you build your characters the way that you did? And for Gebetto, I had wanted to be a sit to the side and like make jokes and like basically
Have 10
be the
charisma, apparently.
be the negative, like not the negative, but be the making it worse for the party so that the story is better character. And Anthony, like before that show started, was like, dude, look at our like party as the actual people who are playing the game. Like Mikey's never played before, Steph's never played before, Rob's like got a lot going on right now. Like there's a good chance you're gonna have to face this party. And so like it was too late because I was stubborn and dumb, and so I was really excited for campaign 2 to come out, because I knew with 5 years of work that like Mikey or Steph or Rob being in a different place than he was then, like anyone could have been the face of the party, and we would have seen kind of like what that would look like when we roll out these new characters. And so Diran being able to like actually sit back and listen a lot and ask questions that aren't necessarily driving the story forward all the time felt like a real win for what I had wanted to do in campaign 1.
I feel like in campaign 2, we had like the party face in terms of like, oh, Ellery has the most charisma, right? Like, but I feel like there was a lot more give and take of like, this character is driving this part of this story. Now this character is driving this part of the story. Whereas I feel like in campaign 1, Gebetto was just the face. And it just like was sort of like, character interaction is happening. Gebetto and Genevera are gonna like do that, and then like, not to say that the rest of the characters didn't have great character moments and drove the story in their own unique ways, but drove the story consistently. Or driving the story was less consistent this campaign, and was much more like throwing it around. Like everyone had their moment to shine, and everyone, sometimes it wasn't their moment to shine, and they still took the reins.
I think that came. I think if you look at the second half of the first campaign versus the first half of the first campaign, you will see that through line manifest, right? And that, I agree with you. I think the second campaign, you each sort of had spots where you had the spotlight, and everyone else sort of pushed it forward behind you, and then it would swap around, and that was pretty intentional, right? Like I knew, like Mikey came to me with dream stuff, and I was like, oh yeah, all right, great. I already have like something I want to do with that, and so I can really incorporate that into this. Like when everybody pitched me their original characters, I have a chart that I made with some stuff that they haven't even seen yet, that I like wanted to make sure I was covering all of our angles and covering all of our bases for various plots, so that everyone would get an opportunity to see some stuff.
Show the chart.
No.
Show the chart.
Also, Anthony,
Patho,
I pitched
baby.
my character. I pitched my character, and I pitched like a side character of my character, and you said a hard no.
Right.
Because I said, I want my dad to be researching demons, and you're like, shut the fuck up. Demons don't exist.
Demons.
Like,
Correct.
You're an
Demons
idiot.
is- what a
You're an
stupid
idiot
idea.
for that idea. And
I was like, here's the world I've clearly established, and in it, it's like demons don't exist. Fuck you.
I just thought that was funny. I was just like, all right. Like, you got very intense about it, and I was like, it's just a side character. Like, I came
was
in with
just
more
an idea.
backstory. Man, all right.
It's like, no.
Researching Shadow.
Hard
We already
no.
did this.
And then you found out why. Because if you were like,
It was
oh,
like-
some demons showed up, shit, let's just go ask my dad. Campaign over. Like
That would have been great. We would have had a character to tell us what to do instead of fucking Wesley being like, I don't know.
yeah, that would have been so much more interesting. All right,
Yes!
so this question
It would have gotten the lore dump problem solved.
Dumped so
Would've
much
loved it.
lore.
Yeah.
Would have loved it.
You would have dumped the most lore.
Someone asked me.
Campaign 3, let's go.
Someone asked me, when you gave the party a free instant long rest at the start of the campaign, was that intended for after they walked the path of bones? And also, when they used it early, were you like, LMAO sucks to suck? And the answer is no. I did not really have at that point, I did not have nailed down the mechanical nature of what would happen on the Path of Bones. It was just, here's what I had: a box that said the pit.
Bones.
It just said the
Box
pit.
that said bones.
So we got there and we figured out what was happening. But I love rewards like that. Like in campaign 1, you got the leaf that you just got to ask a question, right? And it's very open-ended. It is a one-time use. You have to decide when strategically to use a thing like that. A one free refresh, full reset like that is similar in if the moment is dire and you need it, great. And I think someone asked me is this when we should use this? And I was like, I don't know, dude. You decide. It's yours. If you want to use it now, great. If not, you'll have it for later. It's also going to suck later. It doesn't matter when it comes.
Guess what? It's not getting easy.
And
Yeah,
that's,
the answer is LMFAO sucks to suck. Just straight up.
No, that was a good guess.
So, honestly, if they still had it when they went into the pit, I would have been pretty sad. The long rest, the inability to rest in the pit, I think, was one of the things that made it feel cool and unique.
So scary.
And I think that the extra levels of exhaustion were a great nerf to the players to make. They've killed all these demons once, but now they're here and more powerful, and also you're less powerful. So now you have no choice but to engage in the terms that they are willing to engage in, which it turns out was just politics.
But you know what's incredible to me though is that and this is where coming at it from Anthony being a writer as well, but my brain thinking in that way is that you dropped the nugget when we were on the island with the birds and the twins or whatever, and that's when my losing 3 levels of exhaustion for this spark of creation came out, and it felt so natural in the course of the story and also irrelevant to anything else. Then we're on the Path of Bones and I only have this number left, and that kind of. And I know that so much of it is not you didn't write that, but just the way that somehow you can see these nuggets of story and then bring them back even in I don't know. I just think that's so cool without having it planned out so fully, still making it such an impactful moment earlier on.
Well, yeah, thank you. And I really loved how it came together with Ellery making a choice and deciding that even though she knew that if no one could intervene, she was dead, she still needed to do that thing in that moment. And I thought it was a great scene that came out of that. And, yeah, I'm very happy with how, I know that a post big climactic battle math session is not always what people expect. But I was very happy with how that. Yeah. I was happy with how the Path of Bones worked out in general also. I thought it was a good mechanic and gave you guys interesting choices to make. Which we can talk about that too, because there was a question here. Let me see where it went. We got so many today that it's hard to find them. So I'll just ask it the piece of it that I think was important. There was a question about whether or not we did a lot of like talking about the Path of Bones. And I tried to include in the episode as much of that discussion as I can, but there was a little bit of that discussion that I cut out. Do you want to talk about that, Mike? Because you were the one who asked the question.
I don't remember the question.
Okay,
What was
well,
the
I'm
question?
happy to
The
talk
question-
about it then.
The question itself from the listener says there were a lot of good character moments in the finale, especially around the idea of one character sacrificing themselves. Were ideas about what to do in that type of scenario something that came up outside the game, or was this something that played out at the table?
So I would say, and the answer is a little bit of both. So the planning that happened during the Path of Bones, as this was going on, there was one segment that I cut where Mike said, like, finally at the very end of this long conversation you guys had about planning, about doing math, about trying to figure out like what you're going to do, you said, okay, hold on. Does anyone want to, like, is anyone okay dying here? And is anyone not okay dying? Because
Does anyone else just want to die? They wake up in the morning and don't want to go on anymore? Just
your
me?
question,
Just me?
That's all the drugs talking. It's like the chronic depressants.
God.
I mean, ultimately, your question was for, is anyone going to have an out-of-game, unfun experience to sacrifice themselves to this if, if this is the path that we're on? And that in that conversation, Rob had said, honestly, I've been thinking about this a lot, and I'll be sad, but I won't be like, but I think it might be the right thing for the character. And like, as soon as Rob said that, Mike was like, okay, shut up, no more, we're doing it in game.
Yeah, he didn't let me really
Well, yeah, because like
process.
if there's an opportunity to get the emotion in the episode instead of having it
Right.
be in a like side conversation that we might cut, like that's the you
Right.
know.
It was crazy because like I had been thinking about it. I think I truly, and I think I said it in character that like I was pretty sure our little fucking lawyer pact bullshit was gonna end up with me dead anyways. And so like I had already made peace that like Belroth he's gone. And then it didn't happen, and I was like, oh, that's weird. Oh man,
I did a lot of emotional processing for that. Like,
that's so strange. And it still felt like he had, of all of the characters we had gone through, he was the one who had changed, I feel like, the most over from like year 1 to year 2, and had also closed all of his loops. He had everything that he wanted. He did everything that he wanted, not necessarily in the way he wanted. And he had also fundamentally transformed and was like already kind of weirdly corrupted and was making lots of risky, bold moves anyways. And it felt just very much like it felt like he was going to die, and it felt like he was ready to die. And that's a weird thing to... It's weirder to come to that bridge and be like, yes, as opposed to have the rug pulled out from underneath you. But yes, Mike was like, is anyone cool with this? And I was like, I guess. And I think I like labored over it for like a bit.
I was
Like,
gonna say you were a little more
stewed in
confident.
it.
You were a little more confident in the conversation than I guess, because if it were I guess, I wouldn't have like pushed us. You were like,
I was thinking
were-
about it,
yeah.
but like, God, I like.
I was gonna say I don't know if it just like you put out that you were cooler with it than you were, but definitely in the reading of it.
I think it's honestly, I think it was somewhere in between the two. Maybe we'll cut the clip out sometime and post it. But it
Ooh,
was,
that would be awesome.
yeah.
Because I was like really like, yeah, like it felt correct, and then you say yes, and you're like, actually, I don't know. Like,
That's what I remember. That's how I remember it. Is that Rob said, "I think I would be okay with it," and then for 10 minutes wasn't sure if that was the right. Because
Yeah. yes,
that's
I
how
will
I-
sacrifice myself. Okay, here's the gun.
Maybe.
Fuck. I don't know if I want to play Russian roulette anymore.
So tangentially related to that, what was the
What's
biggest
your favorite
regret?
moment when Belroth died?
No, what was the biggest regret you have with the character and how it unfolded over the course of the campaign? For each of you, not just this isn't just directed at Rob.
Specifically, Rob.
Go ahead.
I'll go. Yeah. So I think one thing that I wish I'd done differently, I can't think of anything I regret in my actual actions, but I wish I'd have done in addition, is kind of made or tried to push the Tessa to have more of a home base. I really wanted I to kind of bring back the feeling of having Adventure Inc. be a home base again, or oh my goodness, one of who was the master that died? Master Elgrave?
Yeah, I know.
Elder Willowheart,
Elder Riggs.
Elder Riggs.
Elder Riggs. Yeah, like that felt like it was going to be the new base for Tessa or something like that. And I think that kind of that would have been a fun reprieve where we did a lot of role playing and it was kind of our home base to get advice, talk to NPCs, and then kind of go back out into the world. So I wish I had kind of pushed more for that.
I'll tell you, I intentionally cut that away from you.
I was gonna say it felt like Anthony wouldn't give us that, like
Yeah, 'cause
because
I
we
think we
were all on
tried,
the same
yeah.
page. Yeah,
Yeah, I don't know. We never addressed it though. We never talked about it.
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
yeah.
Initially I thought that Redbridge, the town, was going to serve that purpose to a degree, and then I realized that it was too small, too fast. And then I felt like there was a lot of value in sort of keeping Tessa like decoupled from that power structure. That if they didn't have that support and they were really stuck on their own, they were in a situation where they had to do. It was different than the Many Pennies, who were like everyone looked to them to do the thing, and instead nobody looked to Tessa to do the thing. But if they didn't do the thing, no one was going to.
Yeah.
And that was the feeling I was really hoping to get across through that.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
thought it was cool, but I agree with Mike. That
Sure.
I wanted a dorm room vibe.
When
also.
so there was Mike and I used to play a LARP that for a little while they took away the tavern. That there usually a LARP has a tavern, a central place everyone can hang out, and they took away the tavern for similar reasons. They wanted to like make a cooler, like harsher experience, and I was unrelenting in complaining about this to every NPC who would listen. So I get it. I get the feeling.
Amazing.
I was like, man, if only there was a place we could all
Yep.
get together and coordinate and talk about something. If such a place
comfort.
existed.
So that kind of ties in with my like regret at the very beginning, the first, and I don't know if they were just session zeros or maybe it made it into the first episode as well, but like I had wanted to be really committed to complimenting something physically about every single person we met, so that I could force Anthony into actually describing what characters look like.
I love your
And-
orcish features.
Exactly. I love how much you are an orc. But like,
Called her a
Discuss.
human many times, but okay.
but I wanted to, that's why it's a regret on me, because I'm not putting this on you. I wanted to be more consistent in calling that out, so that part of it was me paying attention more, right? Like, and this is something I do when I'm reading too. I'll just skip descriptions. I don't care. It's got a picture in my mind. It doesn't matter what the book says. It's just that's a habit of mine. So I wanted to work on that and call it out in game, but I didn't, like, ever. So here we are.
That's a regret. Fair enough. That's
Yeah.
that's what regret is.
Yeah. My regret is pretty straightforward. I regret having a poster of Archimedes Silverblade in my childhood bedroom. I regret my Tower of Arai race car bed.
Which I said several times.
Yeah, I just regret a lot of idolizing this guy. No, honestly though, like, I think Diren is the most fun character I've played. I just think choosing to fail perception checks all the time is fucking
You
hilarious.
choose?
Yeah, like I would routinely fudge my numbers down to like not.
But he would say it
notice
out loud.
things.
He would
Or
say,
just
"No, I
straight
just
up-
don't pass. I won't pass."
Or I would just say straight up, I do not perceive.
Yeah.
But then also like figuring out the way to justify his insanely high insight scores or like investigation scores were also really fun like traits for me. And so like I think the thing I regret the most about Diren is not getting as clear about his feelings for Ellery in the finale. Like I think it was pretty obvious how he
mean-
feels.
that
but-
hand holding bit was pretty A plus.
Right. And that's what I mean is like it totally worked out to be an incredible moment. And it would have been a different type of incredible moment, I think, had I been more clear about it.
Sure.
So funny. I guess now it's on me. I guess I don't know. I feel like Belroth did everything I set out for him to do. I guess I regret I spent so much time on his backstory. 'Cause I wrote whole family trees, man. Like there were characters that just never came into being, and like I don't know. I don't think I have truly any regrets. I think there are certain ways I could have characterized him better. I don't regret not having a clear, strong character voice, even though Anthony is like a bitch about it. But I think I have no regrets. I don't know. That's why it felt like it was correct for him to be the one who sat. Like it felt like he did everything I wanted it to. Maybe that's my regret. Maybe I didn't. Maybe it was too narrow in scope. Maybe I needed to give him more to do. But I don't know. No regrets.
Whatever.
No regrets.
This one's for Mike C. Oh, go ahead, Mike. What's up?
Yeah, no, Belroth, that just going back to the death scene. I mean, that I just thought of this, but I thought it worth mentioning. When we had that conversation out of game conversation, and you were like, "Yep, it's going to be me," however sure you were of it. I during the recording miscounted the number of
You sure did.
exhaustions that we needed, and I was like, "Oh, nobody needs to die. We're just gonna
Dude,
cruise through this."
And you
And
made
then
me
when you
miscount,
were like-
and I was like,
I made you question it and then you were,
I
and
just
then everyone
went
was
through
like, "No."
this for the second time, bro. Like, how many times
So
am I
I
not
genuinely
gonna die?
felt I was like, "We're gonna lose Belroth." Oh my goodness! And everyone's like, "Yeah, we knew this." So the emotion it was some real.
So dumb.
Yeah.
I got a question here for Mike C. It's whatever happened to Scarpin's kid from that one tavern night.
Oh my goodness. Listen, important thing to know about turtles is they're similar to sea turtles,
Deadbeats.
where they're not really attached to their young. until they've proven themselves strong enough to survive a bit on their own.
Turtles are just dead beats.
And then they're quite a loving species, and yeah, they love their offspring at that point. So he'll wander back. He'll wander back if he can.
Okay.
Great answer.
Wow.
Steph.
Great
After
answer.
the
Great
hiatus,
question.
man.
Great
Great
answer.
question. Great answer. Steph, what was your favorite spell song?
Oh, you know what? I do really like Polymorph. Just because there's nothing like Dolly. Like, a lot of them were easy, and a lot of them were like I had to like really work to find something. But yeah, there were a few that I wish I had gotten to use more. But I think out of what I have, Polymorph. I was really excited.
What was the one that
Laugh
you did it a lot and you had to think of a rhyme? Show me a brick, like that
Oh,
one.
yeah.
That one always made me laugh because you would get there and you'd be like, "Fuck."
I
Yeah.
knew I needed to do this, and I
Leg.
didn't, and now it's the end of the song.
Well, yeah, I was. Yeah, that's the Song of Creation.
Yeah. That was funny every time.
Yeah,
'Cause it was
and
so
it's funny
sweet and
because
so
like
genuine, and then you get to the end and you'd be like, "Oh no, oh no."
and that's one of the ones that like was so easy because it literally I don't even think I changed like one lyric, but it's a song called Spark of Creation from Children of Eden, and it just is that. It's just the spark of creation. It just like is so simple. And when I was like, oh, I need a song of creation, done, easy. But then I always forgot I had to tidy up the request.
My favorite of yours was always Heat Metal.
Mine too.
That's because, well, I was going to say it's because Mike loves Hadestown, but Anthony, I don't know your excuse.
I just liked it. I mean, I don't know where I didn't know
Yeah.
where most of them were from, but I just enjoyed that song. I thought it was fun.
Yeah.
I liked the
what
one
is
time
it?
Anthony sung. That was fun.
Yeah, that was great.
Yeah.
I got another
my
Mikesy
goodness,
question
or,
here though.
Wait,
Hold
Mike,
on,
I want to hear Mike's favorite.
I want to shout out the best friend song. We were in the cave and
Oh
there
my
was the
God.
ghost. Like, and it wasn't even a spell, but it was so good. It was so good.
We're trying to. God, I literally forgot about that entire arc.
That was great.
Something,
You're
and
just looking for 2 more friends.
Yes.
Maybe we'd have 3 more friends.
and then
thought
everyone
it was,
paused, waiting to hear what the spell description was.
Right.
Nope.
I was like, charm person? No? Okay. Well, he's charmed.
You're so good at these stuff. It's just mind blowing.
funny.
Thank you.
I have another Mikesy thing here. This one isn't a question, but Mikesy has all the best character voices, especially on Tavern Nights. I mean, on Patreon episodes. And then, would Scarpin make
true.
that secret investment again with hindsight on how everyone reacted?
That's a yeah.
So-
That's a yes. Right.
That is a yes.
That's the strongest yes I've ever heard.
It felt so right in the moment, but what's so funny with me? I have the least amount of acting or improv experience on this amazing cast, and it's hard for me, I think, sometimes to separate when I feel bad about a character decision and like to separate the mic from the Scarpin. So like a part of me was like, I really wish I did not do this in the moment because I hated the interactions of disappointing my castmates. And it was just like, you just get so sweaty. It's just so, I don't know. It was a hard time to go through, but I think from a character, like looking back and it just being like this ridiculous impulsive thing that Scarpin continually did.
Oh my god.
I don't regret it from a story standpoint.
Oh my god, that was me. That was Asher. That was every time I did something and I was like, I've made everyone mad in real life. So, everyone actually hates me and I'm just gonna quit. So
It's so hard to separate that, right? Or
feel that.
it is for me.
It's
Yes,
so
yes,
yes.
it's so
I've gotten
hard.
better.
it's just hard. Nope, it's just hard. It's regular hard.
And I think that's why a lot of those conversations after recording of like, no, Mikey, like, what a fucking genius choice. Oh my God, it was so good, right? Like the number of times
debrief.
the number of times we would go over that after recording ended to be like, no, dog, like, let's go.
Guys are
Because
fucking insane for being able to like switch that on and off and like realize what's real
Mike,
and what's not.
Mike-
And it's just like it's so weird.
Mikesy, can I be real for 1 second? Can I be real for 1 second? When you walk through
I don't know.
When you walk through the portal, I was actually mad. That was genuine anger.
Oh, Demon Island.
Yeah, when you were just like, fuck this. And I was just like, what are you doing? Like, I was
I
mad
took
at
the
everyone
travel
at that
stone.
moment, and then I stopped being mad at them.
Yeah, you took the travel stone and had no spell stone.
I was like,
I had no spell stone. I had invested it all.
yeah.
Yeah.
I was actual annoyed with that move too. Like Mike the player was like, ah, fuck it, let him die. Like, that'll show him.
Oh my goodness.
if he dies, he dies.
I will say I wasn't actual mad at you at
Me
that.
either.
I thought
I
it was
loved it.
hilarious because like for me, part of my like goal for this campaign was being more flexible and creative. It's the reason that I made LeBron in the Patreon episodes campaign 1. And like I just wanted to like everything was gonna have a solution, and I had I feel like I had a lot of trust in Anthony that like there is no wrong answer. This is all like internal work that I've been doing since campaign 1, so I think it's really shown. There's no right answer. It is a game, and we will find a solution. And I thought it was so funny because normally I would be the one that was like upset about it, but I was just like, ooh. Okay.
I did have a moment where I was like, oh, okay, how do we write out of this that doesn't feel cheap, but also
That
moves
was my
forward?
struggle. Right, that was my struggle. Was like, Mike C has to like find Spellstone to come back. I don't understand how this is gonna work.
Remember how we resolved it.
I resolved it.
Yeah,
so that's
Steph-
what's so
Steph fixed
funny
it.
because listening to you guys, now I'm like, now I see why I was the only one with an idea because I wasn't.
Sure.
I hadn't left the game
Yeah.
in my head.
Yeah.
And so this is like a really funny kind of rehashing of that because I thought it was hilarious.
Yeah, you were still in
still in
the
character.
like yes and of it, and me and Rob were like, no!
Yeah.
And I was
No.
like, I was like, okay, we can solve this. And then you were like, how about I do this? I was like, sold.
Anthony's never said yes so fast in his life.
Thank you for solving it for me.
Oh my goodness.
No, this
I
is just
think-
a
I think
really
we
funny
took a break.
perspective.
Yeah, we did.
We took a break
Yeah.
immediately because it was like, we need a break.
I don't know what to do. Oh God.
Yeah.
I was like, I know. I just did it.
I'm certain you can hear, like, because you did the thing, and then I am certain you can hear how wide I'm smiling in the recording when I already had pieced together that you didn't have any spellstone and you had the travel stone and no way to get
you were
back.
ahead of me.
Yeah, you were way ahead of me. Like, once
was
he
ve- I
said,
think- Oh my goodness. The doing something rather than talking thing, I think, is sometimes a fun decision. I don't know how true
always.
it necessarily. Yeah, exactly. And I think for me, I do struggle with: is this a good character decision? Is this a Scarpin decision, or is this a Mike decision? And I think Rob can maybe empathize with that with the Baron Sildikar situation.
Yeah, that's the knife's edge, right? Where I think home games and recording a show are very different. And you make choices not necessarily on impulse, but get the thing going. And then you have to blur the line between what's a good decision, what's a character decision, and what's an impulsive decision, as opposed to what I think the thing that Campaign 2 did better than Campaign 1 is we talked a lot in Campaign 1 about doing the thing, and in Campaign 2 we never had the time to talk about doing the thing.
Oh my goodness.
So we just
No.
did the thing. And I think the flip side of that was Belroth had a Rob moment. And
Yeah, I thought for sure that was going to be your biggest regret.
nah, no, because it could have been something cool. It really could have been something fuck. I was like, Matt, I was like, fuck, why did I do that? And then like, I think it was Steph who said like, dude, you're gonna have so many cool things Campaign 2 because we're gonna have these like weird Baron Sildakar adventures. Never mind. But it was a
Again,
choice.
Steph kept it together.
Steph kept it together. So
I started going to therapy during Campaign 2. I don't know.
it's helpful.
I don't know who
tell.
I don't know who wrote this question, but it says it's been fun to keep track of all the character collapses and even deaths. How did you feel about the difficulty of this campaign compared to the first one as a player or as a DM? And I want to shout out Captain Hygiene. Thank you so much for
Oh my God, yes.
keeping the death tally in the Discord. Has been just so much fun to watch unfold over the course of the campaign.
And to win.
I got the high score.
I just want to.
I got the high score.
Did you?
Yeah.
Oh,
Well,
did I
Freya got the
I
high
misread
score.
it then.
Well, Freya got the low score.
Oh no.
Low, yeah, you guys were in the low score,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
you died, so I don't think you qualify.
I mean, I
feel
I got a
like-
record.
Yeah, you got a DNF, Rob. You got a did not finish.
No, but I got. No, here's the thing. Here's the thing.
Mikey made it all the way to the end.
I did something no one else did.
That's true.
So I succeeded.
Yes.
I succeeded
know-
where no
Yes,
one
and.
else succeeded.
You can use that in like a sports analogy and still not win. I did something no one else has done. I picked that basketball up
And I threw it
put it
through the
in my
end zone.
butt.
I don't know
Yeah.
why I was in there.
What?
So
Did it.
the question was,
did it. No one else did that.
how
But
did
yeah,
you?
Scarpin, I think Scarpin won because Scarpin's
Scarpin won the
character
collapse game.
was supposed to take all the hits. And boy, did he ever.
He tried not to many times too.
And
Yeah.
still,
And refused to heal myself or anyone else.
so noble. So noble.
Yeah.
Just wanted to win. Do anything for the W.
Actually, I have a question, Captain Hygiene. So, did you count the dead but revivified in the deaths?
Yeah.
Oh, great question.
You don't have
Because
to
if you-
answer that. This is your time to give us cues and we to give you A's. This
Hey,
was
he can
not
A if
meant.
he wants.
Hey,
Yeah,
this
he's
was not
allowed
meant
to
to
A-
be feeding them cues and get A's from them. They don't have to. He can if he wants. but
It's
he doesn't.
important
He's hungry.
because if
He's
he didn't
hungry.
count it in, then Ellery and Scarpin are tied.
What's the tiebreaker?
I got revivified, so I guess that's magical intervention that you didn't get, so you still win, but it's important to me.
Oh yeah, then we can tie.
How did you feel about the difficulty of this campaign compared to the first one?
So
Loved
stressful.
it. I loved it, man. I liked how much more tension there was in that. Like, combat felt much more like impactful and less like, all right, here's the thing we got to do, and like, not that was really the case in campaign 1, but like we had to make it more entertaining in a lot of ways, and we were figuring out what that meant. But in this one, we really didn't, because it was just sort of like, how do we make sure we don't die? Is like, there was just more tension in it, and it was more satisfying to listen to the combat this campaign. And it was more satisfying, it was more terrifying to play, but I also as personally like that as a fan of the Dark Souls series. But I just think it's also more fun, and it makes us less like superheroes and more like characters. So I liked it.
I liked knowing that Gebetto wasn't really going to die unless I made the choice to let him die. I did not like the negative tension that Diren could accidentally die or die from a monster who was more strong than he was. I will cop to my favorite moment being when Diren convinced the party to run away in that fight.
Oof.
But
Brutal.
Oh my god. I'm getting sweaty all over again thinking about it because I just don't like that feeling.
That Beholder fight was hard. That was a tough fight.
We ran
I
away a
trusted
lot
that
more.
Anthony was gonna do what was best for the story, and so I,
Oh my
I loved
goodness.
it.
Oh my
You
god.
would have been so
Less,
fucking
less
upset,
therapy.
dude. Shut
Less
up.
Less therapy. No, I think the stakes. I think it was a really cool way to show that the stakes were higher without having to build for like 2 years to get there. I just thought it was. I thought it was the right move, even though it was very stressful. Especially as someone who was not a canon, and my only experience had been a canon, whether it was Genevera or LeBron. Damage was my game, so it was just a very different way to approach combat.
I liked being the gun this season. It was fun.
I miss being a monk, I think. And I think I don't know how to play a cleric. I don't know if anyone could tell.
In
don't-
your
I don't know.
defense, in your defense,
Could you
I think
tell?
you've done every move correctly, and then Guiding Bolt misses every time. So I think
he's done every move according to the cleric correctly. According to the rest of the party, maybe not.
I think
But-
it's pretty hard to justify that level 5 guiding bolt almost period.
Yeah.
I
And
love it.
and also like the whole meme about being a cleric, right, is why would I heal you? You have 2 death saving throws left. Like that's the whole bit.
Oh, he got it.
Yeah.
yeah. I hope so. I heard that some people have started doing death saving throws in private with the DM. That would have changed fucking everything. So
I like that
Anthony,
idea a
take
lot.
that
Live together,
one.
die alone.
Yeah, no, I hate that idea.
Okay, I've got a question here that says, I mean, for my part, I should say, I enjoyed it, but it was intentional for a couple of reasons. One, people weren't new at the game anymore. And so it was a good point to restart the expectation points, right? Like, it would have been very difficult to ramp up the difficulty that hard. We ramped up some in the first campaign toward the end, but it would have been awkward to ramp it that hard in the first campaign just because expectations were already set. And the new campaign was a good opportunity to make it feel distinct, make it feel different off like immediately, and to make it feel dangerous, to make the demons feel like a threat. That was when we had a much shorter time frame to establish the threat. We got to establish Gorm as a threat a long time. I mean, the first arc of the first campaign, hints at Gorm, and then like we have 5 years to build him to be a credible threat to fight, and we didn't have that runway. So I wanted to make sure that things hit hard, and I think it worked out pretty well. Did the demons' invasion affect the war between the Triton and the Kingdom? Yes. Next question. That's a real.
Oh my goodness.
That's a real laugho we're holding on to there.
Wow.
The Triton War. The Triton War happened in the background the whole time. It was always meant to happen in the background. Mike at one point said to me, "Sorry, we're not engaging with your stupid fish war." And I said, "You're not really supposed to. Like, it's meant to be there. It is part of the world, and it does exist." And that's all I'm going to say about that right now.
I had no interest in his stupid fish war, for the record.
Oh my goodness.
How do you... We kind of addressed some of this, but I want to just encapsulate it now as we draw closer to the end. How do you feel your character concept worked out for the campaign, and would you go back and change anything about the core concept if you could?
Oh, that's such a good question.
No. I mean,
Which part?
I'll never.
How do you feel it worked out? No.
No changes. I'm happy with Belroth. I think I wanted to. Campaign 1 was I wanted to play a character in a standard D&D game that was different, and then that turns out is just different for a podcast. And this one was I want to play a character that's harder for me to play, and I think there are things that Belroth did that were very much Belroth, and things that Belroth did that were very much me. And I think I don't know, man. I played Indiana Jones crossed with Frasier. Like, what else could I change, man? Like, what the fuck else do you want from me? I think it was pretty good.
Did it
We
well.
never got tossed salad and scrambled eggs, but we got Belroth. That was great. No one got that joke. That's fine. Keep going.
No.
Was it a Frasier?
Everyone got it. It's the Frasier theme song.
Oh, okay. It just wasn't funny. Got it.
I didn't get it.
Oh,
There you go.
I got
there
it.
you go.
I got it.
I got it. That was a Belroth moment.
Anthony, what about you? What character concept do you think worked best?
Who was your
for
least
the
favorite
campaign?
character of all four of us?
No. Of the NPCs that you played, what character concept do you think worked out best, and which would you change if you had the chance?
I think the King of Thieves worked out the best. He was distinct. He was
I love that voice, man.
recognizable, and I think he got to have some interesting conversations and some interesting directions. And there's still a lot of mystery left to him that I think is exciting and fun to play. I think the character that maybe was the least successful might have been Carapath. I think he needed something else, and we didn't get there with him. And that's fine. But part of that, I mean, that was as he evolved, right? And as the elders evolved, part of that was stripping away the support system and leaving you only with the one who, you did not have the strongest relationship with. And so that was also intentional, but it also meant that I was missing value in that.
Is that why you killed Willowheart? Because we liked him?
Willowheart.
Which one are they empathizing with?
No. Willowheart.
Wow.
Was a death of bravery and valor.
That doesn't answer my question. You said we were going to get A's to Q's.
Yeah,
Did
but
you kill
you
Willowheart?
don't get the answers the viewers do.
I didn't kill Willowheart. Vampires killed Willowheart. I didn't do it. I didn't do it. I'm just telling you what
Just a
happened
yes or no.
in the world.
It's true.
It has nothing to do with me.
Anthony.
Next question.
Anthony. Yes or
goodness.
no?
No, I think Willowheart had served his purpose to what I wanted him to do. And so that's why it was the right time to
Made
kill
an
him.
emotional connection to the party?
Yeah, and then there was value in that, right? Now, I will say, I thought the moment was a lot better when we recorded it and lost it. I got a lot more juice out of that in the thing that
that's
doesn't
fair.
exist. But because Willowheart's death was supposed to be an emphatic, a consequence to Wesley fucking around, right?
Got it.
So in the conversation that was had that was lost, Carapath was admonishing Wesley for basically being Wesley. Wesley doing what Wesley does, which is taking matters into his own hands, ignoring support and help, using people to his own ends to make sure that the thing that he thinks needs to be done and is right was getting done and was being handled. And in doing so, he was ignoring the responsibilities and the duties that other people thought he should have. And Willowheart died because of that. And that ultimately it was Wesley's fault. Insofar as Carapath blamed Wesley, but it was Wesley's fault. The vampires killed Willowheart? Not really. But Carapath blamed him for it anyway. And that was what the biggest purpose of that was. that was unfortunately lost.
Yeah.
And so instead it just sort of became a footnote of, you guys liked him too hard. And he was so hot.
No, so I will say that
Didn't
I
help.
think Carapath comes around to us during that scene that got lost as well. And I think a lot of that is because of our shared appreciation of Willowheart, right? Like there's you were my friend's friend and now that friend is gone, and so I want to honor the bond that they had with you.
And your increasing frustration with Wesley.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
It was a combination of you're my friend's friend and my enemy's enemy.
And I really, to dispel any, I know there's some ambiguity at the end of the campaign, but I honestly tried to play Wesley as making the decision that he thought was best to solve what he sees as the only problem. And the only problem is the fading. And like bringing your group in to clean up the mess that he made in trying to solve this one thing. It was still all in service of trying to find an answer on fixing the fading. And everything is a tool. Everything is an opportunity for him to work toward that goal.
I think for me, Deeran's character concept worked out great. I really wanted to play someone who was opposite to Gebetto in a lot of different ways. I wanted to play a character without a close relationship with their parents, so that Anthony wouldn't kill them and wouldn't instead use them as bad guys. I wanted to play a character who like didn't always need to be like the center of attention. And I wanted to play a character who like asked questions instead of taking action. And I feel like for the most part, I was able to make Deeran those things. To Rob's point earlier about how in campaign 1 we would sit around and talk about what we were doing forever. That's Deeran's ideal. He says a lot of times that he wants to do action instead of learning or discussing or researching. He doesn't. He just wants to talk about doing action. Like he's a poser. And it was so fun to be in this group and people like to take that part of him seriously and then like be actioning based on his like expression that like, yeah, I want to do action. And then everyone's like, all right, sweet, us too. And Deeran like actually having to taste what that medicine tastes like was so fun to me. So
It's so interesting because like Belroth and Deeran kind of started from the same position of like, I just want to talk about the thing forever. And I think they like just went...
well, because Deeran would never say that. Deeran always said, why talk when we could do?
And Belroth was the opposite. Belroth was like, let's
Right.
think this out. And then slowly realized he was like, actually, I just like doing things.
Yeah.
Like he was the complete opposite in a lot of ways.
I need
So
to
I
point
think-
out before you go, Steph. I need to point out I didn't kill any parents this campaign. Okay, like that. I don't. This is an unfair characterization. No parents died in the making.
I
of
don't
this
know
campaign.
where most of my Belroth's extended family is.
They were at your funeral, dog. Didn't you listen?
Yeah, they were
I
at your
said you
funeral.
didn't name every single one of them. Anthony didn't say. I have a family tree he never referenced. Okay, they could be dead. He never mentioned my dad, who was not worshiping or researching.
not
demons.
research, specifically not researching demons.
Never brought up.
Yeah, if he was researching demons, he would have come up. It's fine.
Would have come up dead.
Come up, dead.
So I like that was kind of the one thing that I had wished I had done differently with Ellery, is that I wish I had made her a little bit more impulse action forward, because I think it would have fit really nicely with her personality. She just wants to do everything, and I think it in our group dynamic would have been a nice balance to Scarpin. who also was more inclined to do things instead of having 3 characters who were going to talk it out, and then Scarpin just kind of had to take it on himself anyway. So I think that's where I would have
To walk through the portal.
maybe no, but yeah, like there was a time where we were talking about something, and I DM'd Mike and I said I freaking wish I had made Ellery Magnus Rushes In character, because I cannot talk about this for one more second. But Ellery was a talker also, so that's where we were. We were just gonna talk about it.
And in my head, I'm like, yeah, Darren doesn't do that.
Right.
So
Right.
that's a you problem.
No, and that's why I was saying it. That's why.
Then I got a DM saying just do it, and so I walked through the portal.
Oh, okay.
So,
It wasn't your own choice.
thanks for that text, Mike.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's I think the one thing that I would have adjusted a bit.
What about Mikey?
Yeah, I think I liked Scarpin more than playing Kath. I didn't, as we mentioned before, that was my first. The first campaign was my first Dungeons and Dragons experience, and I basically was just playing Mike Williams as who I would play in a LARP, but slightly different because I was half orc. But this I wanted to have a character voice, have a appearance that I would not play in a LARP, because I refuse to have makeup or horns or anything in LARPing. And yeah, I don't know. I based it on what I thought would be fun to role play with, and also the world I wanted to play in, which is the dream world, and kind of being like this master of this like unseen universe that he knows about but nobody else does.
So
I
Doctor
don't know.
Strange.
Is it? I don't know.
A little, but like in a good way, right? Like,
Yeah.
All right, I've got a question here that says, anything you wish anything you wish you got to explore or have the party come across that we didn't have time for. I think no, in the way that we divided out the campaign, we only had the space to get to what we had to get to, you know? When I wrote the demons, I knew that the demons were going to be the antagonist, and I knew that I needed to come up with basically like these lieutenants, right? These memorable characters who could be her greater demons for people to fight. And I wanted to generate that in a way that was like exciting and interesting, and like to give myself some inspiration. I just like pulled out a tarot deck and pulled the Greater Arcana and shuffled it, and I drew 5 cards from the Greater Arcana, and then the Empress. I kept the Empress aside because I knew that the Empress was like one of the keys, and then I just flipped them, and it was like the Moon, which became Nosferat. It was Death, which became Death. It was Temperance, which became the Grey Lady. It was the Lovers, which became the Strangers. And it was who am I missing? I'm missing one. Oh, the Whisper of Lies
Scratch.
was the Devil.
That's so cool.
Cool.
that is really cool.
So
Wow.
Who is the Two of Cups?
that's why I only grabbed the Greater Arcana, the Major
That's
Arcana.
really cool.
Yeah, I thought it was really fun to use that as a way to like justify what their powers were and like who they were. And I thought some of it was so fitting because like I wrote Nosferat as this like leader, like the head of the vampires or whatever. And then Steph was like, I want to play a vampire. And I was like, like I was just like already primed. I had Old Scratch written, and Mikey was like, I want to do dream stuff. And I was like, yes.
That's so
I hated how into it you were.
cool. Yeah. But also now I'm gonna need like maybe for bonus content, we can talk through the other cards in the major arcana and what kind of devil you would make, or what kind of
fun.
demon you would make.
Yeah,
from
just
them.
draw like 6 more and see what happens. Yeah. But yeah, it was a lot of that was. This isn't really answering the question, but it's something I wanted to talk about before we got there, and we're almost there. So yeah, I mean that was an exciting and fun way for me in the writing phase to get that all put together. All right, this is the last question, guys. This is what we got. So, Rob, you can sit this one out.
Yikes.
What do you guys see your characters doing for the rest of their lives?
Oh, laugho, y'all.
No, I think we're at a point, right, where our story has ended. Whatever happens in the future is whatever, but from this point in time, what do you think, like if the world was open to them from this point forward, what would the outcome of your character be? No other input changing that course.
All right, I want to go before it gets gross. So Scarfin wants to know about the Nightholder connection to the fading. He doesn't like that the Nightholders snip the knowledge of the fading, but they don't know why, because of the fading. They don't know why they're doing it. So that bothers him quite a bit. So he would look into that, trying to figure out that, and also try and recover his ability to dream as he used to. So I think that he has a lifetime of stuff to do just with that right there. So it's kind of boring, but also like I genuinely want to pursue that, either out of game where Anthony just tells me, or in game where I get to do it.
Yeah. I think that's like one of the weirdest parts of taking this break now, right? Is like for everybody but Belroth, like these characters
You
are
gotta
only
keep bringing
halfway
it up.
done. Well, I mean, he's dead, and so like he doesn't get to he doesn't
Not
get
dead.
to
He
keep
was
going.
literally erased by the power of destruction. I mean, I feel like there's a little bit more fun. He's not rotting. He just doesn't exist. I
mean, he had a corpse.
he did.
Yeah, we buried
yeah,
it.
That's fair.
Buried something.
Oh, I don't know.
You're right.
This is when we find out Rob definitely didn't listen to the funeral.
It was hard. It was hard to listen to it.
Yeah,
like,
no,
honestly,
I imagine.
Like, what do you
I
want?
imagine, yeah.
But yeah, so like leaving these characters in basically the middle of like when you look at Dungeons and Dragons character arc progressions, right? We ended at what, like 10, 11?
10, I think.
Yeah.
And, like that's dead
Yeah,
middle.
We didn't level
We
up
probably
close.
would have gotten level 9 had we not bullied Anthony. Like a little. If we had bullied him less, it would have been 9.
Yeah.
Maybe.
And so like we're in the middle of a lot of these epic stories, right? And so it's kind of weird to think like there's a chance that they could retire.
Yeah, I mean, Ellery's got to play to right. And that's
right.
really like, that's
Takes a
important
long
because
time.
the whole point of her leaving home was to collect stories. And that's what she did. And
Definitely has a story to tell, for
right.
sure.
And so I think that like that's next on her list is to go back to Naya, and like I think being away from it, kind of like Mikey was saying, like we didn't really have any characters we were rooted to that she could latch onto, like a new grandma, which, if there was someone who, like, if Willowheart had hung on a little bit longer,
Who knows? Yeah.
Grandpa Willowheart over there.
Grandpa Dubs.
Grandpa Dubs. But yeah, so like she definitely needs to be home.
Steph, you can go find Wesley.
Yeah,
And
Steph
kill
loves
him.
that idea.
I wanna reinforce that Ellery has conflicting feelings about Wesley. She wishes that, he hadn't made some of the mistakes that he had made.
And what about Steph?
Steph says, I wish he fucking died in that pit. Could have just left him. Could have just let him die. He should have volunteered. If he wanted to make up for his shit so much, he should have just said, I'm taking the crown, should have ripped it off Belroth's head, taken that damage, and died right there.
He had to carry
So
the train.
Diren will just follow Ellery. Wherever she goes, he'll follow. Like, I want to be very clear that to Diren, like, the stability of a home has never meant anything good. And for the first time with Tessa, he's had that. And so, like, to see his friends go in different directions, he's got to make the choice of, like, do I follow my buddy Scarpin? Or do I, like, stay where my heart wants to be? Because to him, those are the only two choices. He doesn't have a home to go home to after this. Scarpin and Ellery both have stuff to be tied to. Diren has been adrift the whole time.
And Belroth's dead.
And Belroth died. And so, like, because honestly, the real move between, like, the real conflict for Diren would have been between Belroth and Ellery of, like, hey, Belroth is still now driving to find, like, secrets, and he's driving to find answers, and he's doing things.
Yeah.
And if Ellery's going to stay home and write a play, like, Diren's going to get bored.
Yeah.
Like, he's gonna be
I don't think
going a little stir crazy.
I don't think Diren would have liked to marry Belroth. I think.
No, I didn't say anything
I don't
about
think you
marriage.
wanted. I don't think it would have been a good couple.
I feel like you weren't fucking listening, Rob.
It's because he's dead.
Oh, right.
Ears don't work.
But
when
so
you're
yeah,
dead.
Diren will absolutely end up in Naya, hopefully developing a relationship with Ellery's grandma, because he's never had like a maternal caring influence.
And Uncle Chuck. What was this? Uncle
Your
patron
neighbor,
of Tavern Night.
Randy.
Randy.
neighbor Randy.
Yeah, Randy and Diren are gonna hit it off. They're gonna be best buds.
Yeah, maybe we're in the like wood shop together, and he's teaching me how to like whittle or something.
Yeah.
Randy.
I thought you were going to go with Ellery's new step grandpa, who is a dragon.
Oh,
Oh
yeah.
yeah. Honestly, that is something that I. Okay.
Hey, everyone.
Capo,
Don't
I
kill
get
him,
it.
Anthony.
Everyone, thank you all so much, not only for being here with us tonight, but for being a part of this campaign, for listening, for enjoying the story as it unfolded, and for just being a part of this show in the long term. And I want to say also thank you so much to my fellow cast members for the incredible work that they did this campaign with these characters and with this world, and to do such fun and amazing stuff. And it just would not be. It's just incredible. It's just so much fun to work with you guys. So thank you to all of you as well. And we love you all, and we'll see you again one day. Goodbye.
Bye.
See you later.